Alrighty, so sorry. This is actually going to finish question number 4 because I didn't get to finish it in the previous video. All right, so we were finding the least common multiple of 9 and 15. So I listed all my multiples of 9, and I'm going to go through 15 because I got to find the first one that they have in common. So 15 times 1 is not on this list. 15 times 2 is 30, also not on the list. The next one is 45. Wait a second. I know that's on my list. Woohoo! 45 is the very first one that they have in common, so my least common multiple is of 9 and 15 is 45. Let's do question number 5. Now we're switching gears because it's not multiples anymore. Now we're doing factors. That F says factors. So the greatest common factor of these two numbers. So if it helps, we want to go ahead and we know it's not 24. Because we want to make these numbers bigger. Well, I'll show you. Okay, so let's think of factors of 20, and we're going to think of factors of 24. All right, numbers that multiply to be 20. We have 2 and 10, 1 and 20, 5 and 4. I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. Okay, so let's do numbers that multiply to be 24. 1 and 24. I know that 6 and 4 do. 2 and 12. 3 and 8. I can't think of any more. Okay, so we did, but we're not just looking for factors. We're not just looking for common ones. We're looking for the greatest common one. So first we need to find the common ones. So they share ones. That's easy. They share 4s. They share 2s. I think that's it. Okay, but again, we're not just finding the common ones. We are finding the greatest common factor, and that's kind of the cool thing about GCF is it tells you what to find. So greatest common factor is 4. It's the greatest number that they share. Sweet, we're doing another GCF. So greatest common factor. So the first thing I do is I'm like, cool, let's list some factors. And I like it when they're smaller numbers. All right, numbers that multiply to be 16. 1 and 16, 4 and 4, 2 and 8. I think that's it. Yep. Let's do factors of 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Pretty sure that's all because that's what we got in the last question. Okay, so let's look at the ones they have in common. They both have 1s. They both have 2s. They both have 4s. Yep, that's it. Okay, once again, we're looking for the greatest common factor. So the greatest number that they have in common is the number 4. Oops, sorry. All right, sorry, that was question number 7. Yeah, I got my numbers mixed up. Sorry, this is question 7. The least common multiple. All right, switching gears now. Now we're talking about multiples, mountains, making it bigger. So now we're going to start talking about that. We're not breaking these numbers down. So this is that big M. I need numbers that multiply to be, that are multiples of 6, and we're going to figure out which one of those goes with 9. So this is like times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. This is where these numbers are coming from. So 6 times 1 is 6, 12, 18, 24, 32. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 9. We have 9, 18. Oh, I can stop because the cool thing about this is it's the very first number that they have in common because it's the least common multiple. So the first one that they come across is 18. That's both a multiple of 6 and of 9. So that was pretty easy. I don't even have to keep going with my 9s because I already know that the least common multiple is 18. All right. This question had multiple parts to it. There's an A and a B part. However, pretty easy. We can figure this out. These are those factor trees. And remember, factor trees are when you break down something into prime numbers or break it down to where it can, the only numbers on the list are numbers that can only be multiplied by 1 in itself. Okay, so the 28, when you do this little tree thing, it is asking you for two numbers that multiply to be 28. And so out of those two numbers, they chose 4, because 4 does go into 28, but it says, what is the missing factor in labeled A? So what number would go here to multiply to 4 to be 8 or 28? So when we do this, that is 4 times 7. 4 times 7 is 28. So that would be like a 7 here. Now 7 is prime, that's why it doesn't have any more bubbles underneath it, because the only thing that multiplies to be 7 is 7 and 1. Now, but this 4 is not prime. They broke it down again to two numbers that multiply to be 4. Well, its only two options are 2 times what? And the only other option is 2 times 2. That would have to go in this category of B. You're not going to see a whole lot of prime factorization trees, but they are super nice. They're super easy. Okay, question number 9. Now, this is the distributive property. So we are switching gears. We're not doing LCM, we're not doing GCF, we're switching to distributive property. And how that works is that means that it looks like you have, like, remember, you have, I want to draw. Sorry, press the wrong button. You have like a number outside of parentheses, and you're going to distribute this guy, which means to multiply it to everything, right? So that's the distributive property. If this is not making sense to you, I highly recommend going back into Module 2 and looking where the distributive property is and doing through the lessons. So, all right, so this is the distributive property. However, this guy up here doesn't look anything like it. So it's because it's not in the distributive property. It wants you to put it in the distributive property. So this is how you do that. Pretty easy. I need to make 28 and 42 look like this. So it means I've got to fill in a number out here. I've got to fill in two numbers in here. And knowing how the distributive property works is like how we can do this. So I know that this number out here has to multiply to these to give me 28 plus 42. So the first thing we have to do is we have to take out the greatest common factor of 28 and 42. So we have to come up with the greatest common factor of the two. So let's go ahead and think of factors, 28 and 42. Let's think of factors of 28, and we're going to think of factors of 42 and find the greatest common one they have. So I know 1 and 28. I know 2 and 19. 19. Right? No. No. Hold on. My brain's working. 14. What am I doing? 14. Woo! Can you tell Miss Farmer still doesn't have power? Yeah, 2 and 14. I'm pretty sure 7 and 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Does 3 go into it? No. Okay. Let's do 42. I know 1 and 42. I know 2 and 21. I'm pretty sure 3 and 14 go into it. Let's try 14 times 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Yes, 3 and 14. All right. So I'm pretty sure you guys can see already that our greatest common factor here is 14. So it's the biggest number that they have in common. So that is going to eliminate A and B because the greatest common factor is what goes out here. So I know 14 is going out here. Now I just got to figure out the inside. So 14 times what would give me 28 if I were to distribute it? So, and you already did all the work, by the way. So 14 times 2 is 28, so that would go there. Now we have to figure out 14 times what would give me 42. And again, we've already done the work. 14 times 3 is what's going to give me is what's going to get. So we undid it with the distributive property. So if you were to add these two numbers together, or if you were to multiply 14 times 2 plus 14 times 3, you would get the exact same answer. All right, let's check my time. Okay, let's do number 10. This one's pretty easy. Oh, no, it's the same. We're doing the same thing. So sorry. Same thing. 38 plus 68. 34. Oof. All right, I need to make this look like this. So we need to fill in these spots. So on the outside, I know goes the GCF. So first I have to find the GCF. So let's do that. Let's do a red color. So I need multiples of 30, or I need factors of 34, factors of 68. All right, let's do this. So numbers that multiply would be 34. 1 and 34. 2 and 17. I don't think 4 goes into it. 3 doesn't go into it. Sometimes when I can't think of the numbers, I literally do like 1, and then I do the number 2, and then I do the number 3. Like 3 doesn't go into it. Okay, what about 4? 4 doesn't go into it. 5 doesn't go into it. Does 6 go into it? No. 7 does not. 8. No. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's do 68. I know 1 and 68. I know 2 goes into it because it's an even number. So 2 times 34. I don't think anything else. Okay, well, regardless, I can see that the biggest number that they have in common here is 34. That is their greatest common factor. So we can put 34 right here. I'm going to show you how the rest of it works, but we automatically have our answer. So, because none of these have the 34 outside of the parenthesis. So it's not going to, we can automatically know that it's going to be A. So let's just prove it. 34 times something would give me 34. 1. And then 34 times something would give me 68. That'd be 2. So 34 times 1 plus 2. All right, let's see if I can fit these other two in the other. This one's pretty easy. It says rewrite the sum of expressions as the sum of two numbers. When it says that, we are looking for sum, which means to add, and we are looking for two numbers. So when I think of that, I am queen of elimination. I know it can't be B, that's not sum, that's multiplication. I know it can't be D because that's more than two numbers. So cool, we're halfway there. So with the distributive property, all that means is that we need to take this 5 and distribute it to everything inside our parenthesis. So we'll do 5 times 2, which is 10, carry over our cute little plus sign, and then we have 5 times 8, which is 40. So we just did the sum of two numbers. Now, don't get me wrong, you would get the same answer if you did 5 times 10, but that's not what it's asking for. It's not asking you to solve. It's asking you to rewrite. So that's the key here. We are rewriting it. We're not changing the word. We're rewriting it. Okay, last one, and I only have like a minute to do this. This is the same thing. Sum of two numbers. So automatically, this has more than two numbers. This has more than two numbers. It wants the sum of two numbers. So now let's go ahead. We're going to distribute the 7 to the 2, which is 7 times 2. And then we're going to distribute the 7 to the 6, which is 42. So your answer is right here. Okay, again, I went through a little fast at the end, but it was because I was running out of time. But feel free to pause, rewatch it. You can take this practice test as many times as you'd like.